Hello, good morning. So my name is Brett Buchanan. I'm an associate professor of philosophy and chair here at Laurentian, and one of the organizers of this event. I will have just a few words to mention after our distinguished speakers introduced us this morning, but just as a couple of notes by way of brief introduction. So heartfelt welcome to all of you who have flown from far and wide, from Western Canada, from the States, from here in Ontario, New Zealand and Australia. Obviously, a huge welcome to you. We had a great kickoff last night at the Laughing Buddha Bar as part of the Science North Science Cafe. It was an informal beginning, so not an official event as part of the symposium, but it was a packed affair. The seating capacity there was 85, and they were turning people away at the door, which, as my understanding, is the first time that they've had to do that. And so we had very lively discussion. It was almost a party, really. So it was a great kickoff to this event, I think, and bodes well for the next 3 days. So before I have more thank yous and what have you, I would like to welcome Dominic Giroux, our president and vice chancellor here at Laurentian University, to say a few words of welcome. So, Dominic.
Thank you very much. Annie, bonjour, kwekwe, mami kwenam, juwikmiek. It's my pleasure to welcome you here, obviously, at Laurentian University for those who are from outside our university community, and to welcome you to the award-winning Valley Living with Lakes Center. And I believe John Gunn is here, or I saw him coming in a minute. Dr. John Gunn, our Canada Research Chair in Stressed Aquatic Systems and Director of the Center. So if you want to find out more about the history or the story behind the story, which is a really phenomenal story about the center, by all means, I encourage you to engage with John through the symposium. I also want to acknowledge our guests who have come from a great distance to join us for this symposium. Really excited to have you join us for the occasion, and also welcome those who've traveled from other parts of the province and the country. And later on today, as you know, we will welcome two guests we're really happy to receive, two friends of the university, Margaret Atwood and Graham Gibson. They're obviously leading advocates for wilderness and wildlife preservation. They are friends of the university, friends of the Valley Living with Lakes Center, and I hope you have the opportunity to interact with them tonight and also tomorrow when they will speak. It is part of an annual tradition to have them join us for Margaret's birthday. This will be for about a decade that Margaret will be joining us thanks to the exceptional work of our English department. So obviously with the trilogy from Margaret, it's very fitting with the theme of the symposium, which I have to discuss with you how we came about to that merger, meeting of the minds, but it's just really creative, and I want to acknowledge those behind this initiative. I do want to give kudos to Brett Buchanan, the chair of our philosophy department, Jack Malitskis from the biology, Albert Schuldt-Husted, our Canada Research Chair in Applied Evolutionary Ecology, and Gillian Crozier, also our CRC in Environment, Culture, and Values. Can I just ask you to stand up to be so we can acknowledge you for all your work behind this? I've seen them many times over the past few weeks and months running around on campus thinking, gee, it's a lot of work to organize a symposium. So I'm sure the adrenaline will drop on Sunday, but thank you very much for all the work you've put behind this. On est évidemment très fiers justement du travail que vous avez accompli afin de mener à bien ce symposium, d'obtenir le financement, de planifier et coordonner l'événement et de rassembler un groupe aussi éminent que le groupe que nous avons ici ce matin pour réfléchir à d'importantes questions qui se posent à nous en tant que société et d'en discuter. Donc vraiment, je veux vous féliciter pour cet excellent travail. So thank you to our Laurentian faculty and members of the Center for Evolutionary Ecology and Ethical Conservation, and a most sincere welcome to all of you. And as for the business of this symposium, I hope you'll agree that Laurentian seems to be the perfect location for this gathering and its agenda. If you are new to our campus, perhaps you haven't had a chance to explore and to see for yourselves, so I'll describe to you briefly. We are perched on a beautiful spread of more than 700 acres of boreal wilderness. Our campus is bordered by 5 lakes and encompasses 35 kilometers of superb, unspoiled natural trails. And here you'll find yourself surrounded by birch, pine, aspen, and maple, by granite outcroppings and sparkling fresh water. And just across the road, on the grounds of the main entrance, depending on the time of the year, we have a de facto Canada goose sanctuary, a flock that seems to number in the hundreds, and I see my colleagues just nodding and agreeing with me. There's definitely no danger of extinction there. Our location in the midst of all this natural beauty informs Laurentian's mission and unique character in several ways. These pristine surroundings underline and remind us of our commitment to clean water now and forever. It's part of our academic plan, in which you probably saw as you entered the Mansour Atrium here at the center. On est persuadé en fait que l'important travail de recherche et d'éducation continuera d'améliorer la vigueur et le dynamisme de notre communauté de tout le Nord, justement, pendant de nombreuses années. Laurentian is a focal point for studies in environmental remediation and rehabilitation. We're proud to say that many members of the Laurentian University community, many of our faculty, have been part of the great success of the Sudbury Regreening Project. And we're gathered here today inside a critically important research center for freshwater ecosystems. We're proud of the work played by our faculty, our visiting scholars, our grad students here at the Valley Living with Lakes Center. Their work has created valuable knowledge in repairing, restoring, and monitoring lakes and rivers damaged, unfortunately, by human activity. And they've also contributed greatly to the study of climate change in Ontario, and in particular to the effects of climate change in the extreme northern regions. Just last month, Professor William Keller co-authored an important paper on global warming and the loss of refugium in Canada's Hudson Bay lowlands. So I think I can say that we're very attuned to the environment and mindful of the factors that affect it. We recognize and devote research efforts to the connections between our activities as a species and the impacts on other species that share our environment. And as citizens of this region, we're also very interested in the philosophical and ethical questions around species at risk and human interventions. They're very questions you're posing during the course of this symposium. We live in a time when fundamental changes are on the near horizon, a time when decisions and choices made today can have huge ramifications for the world we leave to our children, my 7-year-old and my 9-year-old. A time when both science and the humanities must engage together to help us all in making wise and informed choices for the future. So again, I want to thank you for being here. I want to, and really look forward. I will follow on Twitter for the next 2-3 days. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be here throughout the symposium. But I'm really excited about the energy, the buzz surrounding this gathering, and what may come of it. And hopefully, it would lead to also other interactions, other joint efforts. I think that's the main impact often of those academic gatherings. It's the follow-ups, it's the connections, the relationships, the new partnerships that can emerge. Merci encore de votre participation. Miigwech.
Thank you very much, Dominic. So I'd like to welcome now Elizabeth Dawes, Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences, to offer a few words of welcome as well. Elizabeth?
Thank you. The risk of extinction is never far from my mind. Some species carry biological traits that make them prone to extinction. I myself carry one such trait. In August 2007, when the National Geographic reported that less than 2% of the world's population were redheads, journalists around the world rushed to declare that redheads would be extinct by 2060. It didn't sound good at all. It was particularly bad news for the 4 redheads in my family, born since the year 2000. My professional niche turned out to be a second risk factor. As a student of Indo-European and Romance philology at the University of Montreal, I didn't realize until it was too late that I was one of the last graduates of a dying discipline, one that has since been pushed out of the academy by invasive species like sociology and other like-minded social sciences that the dusty medieval texts in the Dewey Decimal Collection, now relegated to the bowels of the library storage system, to be retrieved only upon special request by grim-faced mortuary attendants. Relying on my valuable, transferable skills that are the hallmark of a humanities education, I sought refuge in a deanery. As I left my former position, the HR director offered one last piece of advice. Get them to put you on the bargaining team. My training in philology, the study of the historical evolution of language, the comparative analysis of languages with a common ancestor, such as Latin, the reconstruction of medieval texts based on the available manuscripts. All of this had been nothing if not excellent preparation for reading and interpreting the collective agreement. Was Laurentian's bilingual collective agreement, with its Byzantine complexity, not as worthy of study as the Oaths of Strasbourg of 842, both documents recording pledges made at strategic meetings, both written in one Germanic language and one Romance language? My role of dean turned out to be a third risk factor. No sooner had I taken up my position than I received disturbing news from a sessional attending a conference in Scotland. In 1490, several students and faculty at St. Andrews University had attempted to kill the dean with bows and arrows. I learned that for insurance purposes, deans fall into the same category as participants in extreme sports. Extreme sports are said to have a high level of inherent danger, to be more solitary than traditional sports, and to present a higher number of inherently uncontrollable variables. If I was to participate in a sport, extreme or otherwise, I needed a mascot. I quickly settled on the polar bear and put a few fine specimens on display in my office. Bred in captivity, their numbers multiplied rapidly. My office was soon overflowing with stuffed bears and carved bears, bears on plates and bears on cups, bears on cards, keychains, books, and calendars. What's with the bears? Faculty would ask when entering my office. What's with the faculty members? The bears would ask. I left my office. It didn't take me long to realize that I was in serious danger of losing my faculties. The very existence of the humanities and social sciences was said to be threatened. Dwindling enrollments, shrinking budgets, a declining faculty complement. It didn't sound good at all. If philology was gone from the University of Montreal, could philosophy at Laurentian be far behind? In my book, A Dictionary, all that stood between philology and philosophy were a few obscure and archaic words like philomothy and philopatry. Worried that our Department of Philosophy was indeed on the brink of extinction, I rushed to consult the latest Laurentian University calendar, but alas, the calendar itself had become extinct in 2006. My long-suffering secretaries then hastened to reassure me that we still had not one, but two philosophy departments on campus. A pair of philosophy departments? Was this a breeding pair, or a pair threatened with extinction? In the end, I was relieved to discover that our prized flock of philosophers was not at risk, far from it. We are very proud of our philosophers and very pleased to welcome you here today. Enjoy the conference. Thank you.
I was getting a little worried there for a second. You're talking about extinction. There's a happy end. I'm glad I don't have to follow that. Osman. So please welcome Osman Abu Arabia, Dean of Science and Engineering.
Tough. don't like to follow here. So, not only that I knew that I was going to speak after Dean Dawes, which was kind of scary to me, but not invited to Laffy Buddha Bar last night. We only get invited to the official ceremony. So, on behalf of the Faculty of Science and Engineering, I would like to welcome all the guests to Laurentian University. And actually, I would like to start by congratulating the Center. Hello. My glasses here. The Center of Evolutionary and Ethical Conservation for putting together this event and hosting this symposium. It's a great job. It's a baby center. It's just been creating very actually this year, but with what we see from this event, actually, it has huge potential. So just gonna say something. Carl Sagan actually once said, "Extinction is the rule, survival is the exception." And as a proof of this, another author, P.D. James, wrote in one of her books, and I quote, "One of the 4 billion life forms which have existed on this planet, 3,960,000,000 are now extinct. We don't know why, some by wanton extinction, some through natural catastrophe, some destroyed by meteorites and asteroids. In the light of these mass extinction, it really does seem unreasonable to suppose that Homo sapiens should be exempt. Our species will have been one of the shortest lived of all, a mere blink, you may say, in the eye of time," end quote. So that's why we should all be thinking extinction, as the name of this symposium is, if we care about our own survival. So I'm going to stop it here. I wish you all a very pleasant stay. Thank you.
Thank you, Osman. So before we get going, I'd just like to be able to say a few thank yous as well, which I think are certainly in order. Just thinking about the organization of this event, I was joking with my wife the other night that the organization of this was actually quite a bit more than the organization of our wedding. And she pointed out that, well, we didn't have the same budget for our wedding, and also didn't have VIPs coming in from far away, no offense to our family and friends. But on that note, I do want to be able to thank our sponsors. So the Social Sciences, Humanities and Research Council of Canada, the Canada Research Chair Body, Humanities MA in Interpretation and Values, Wildlife Preservation Canada, Canadian Society for Ecology and Evolution, Laurentian's Office of Research, Development and Creativity, the Office of the Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences, the Office of the Dean of Sciences and Engineering, the Departments of Biology, Philosophy, English and Modern Languages, Valley Living with Lakes Center for this, the use of this building here today. So my sincere thank you to all of our sponsors for making this event possible. I also want to be able to thank colleagues in the English department, Susan Glover and Shannon Hangen, who are the great minds behind the bringing in of our Margaret Atwood every year. So this is her 9th year in coming up to Sudbury and to Laurentian University. They were on board with the pairing of our Extinction Symposium and the Margaret Atwood event. They were enthusiastic about bringing us together to create one fantastic event, so I just want to be able to thank them for including us in their great work with Margaret Atwood. I also want to be able to thank my co-conspirators in the organization of this event. So they've already been named, but I'll just name them really quite quickly. Jillian Kreutzer, a colleague in philosophy, Albert Schulte-Hofstede, a colleague and friend in biology, and Jackie Litskis in biology, as well as Tanis Mercer, who many of you have been in contact with over the course of the last several months. Tanis is wonderful. She's really helped us out with the organization of this event. So she's been a key part of our organizational team. And I think if it weren't for my co-conspirators, really, everything special about this event probably wouldn't be quite as special as it is. I mean, they're the minds behind the logo, which, from what I've been hearing, has been really positively received. They're the minds behind wanting to pick you up from the airport. I was thinking, pick them up at the airport, they can take a taxi. They're the great minds behind t-shirts. T-shirts, they have their own clothes. Food, why don't we let's just forage for berries and nuts. So I mean, if it weren't for them, literally all these very small details I would not have been able to help put this event together. So. What happens in Edmonton stays in Edmonton. yeah, good question. No, I hope that you enjoy your stay over the next 3 days. We've got a very full 3 days. Beginning today, we've got a couple of wonderful talks. To start us off with a bang, we've got bangs really throughout the whole 3 days, and then we end with a bang on Saturday evening. And even wrap up with the Santa Claus Parade, which we have organized for you specifically. So it's a tall task, but we did that for you. So have a great stay, and welcome again, and maybe thank you.